Let's do this. Let's get it fired up. All right. All right. Says we are live. I think we're live. I think we're ready to rock and roll. It's a new year. It's 2021. Let's get things kicked off the right way. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Caliber Corner episode number 169. And today we're going to talk about used firearms, things that you should look for, places to go find them. We're going to focus on different types of firearms, specific things to look for, what to buy, what not to buy, stuff to keep in mind if you buy a used firearm, and hopefully make your used firearm purchase a good one. One of the reasons why we're talking about this topic is the fact is you might not be able to find what you want these days new, but there's always a possibility that there's somebody out there that wants to sell something that they have used. You might be able to get a really good price at the same time. So let's go ahead and get this party started. We'll let the panel introduce themselves, and then we'll give a little shout out to those people that are watching on the YouTube side. So off to my right, we got a little Rich White. Rich, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Man, we're doing good. We're waking up. How are things going for you? Did you have a good Christmas? Did you have a good holiday?
Yeah. No,
lots of good food.
Bad. Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I got one of the shirts on that my future son-in-law got me. It's, I don't know how you can see that. It's a parody of
looks like a Dungeons & Dragons
and Final Fantasy VII.
Ooh, there you go.
Parody of Final Fantasy VII and Dungeons & Dragons.
Nice little crossover idea there.
Yeah, it's done like the original D&D rule book.
Yeah, the hardcover rule book.
Cloud fighting one of the dragon villains from the game.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
And if you look at the title, it's Airships and Summons.
Yeah. Which is pretty much what you have going on in Final Fantasy. So,
yeah.
So Rich, you got yourself a little podcast that you do. Why don't you go and get a plug in for that? Where can people find your show, and when can they find it?
Yeah, it's over on the Unloaded Media channel. It's Sunday nights at 8:30 Eastern.
All right, cool. 7:30 Central Time for those of us that live in the best part of the country, the flyover states. All right, man. Good to have you here this morning.
Well, some people would say the state I live in would be the first flyover state.
Do you think so? Are you part of that? You part of that rejection group just like me? I like it though, because people stay out. We have more room for us because we don't have to share.
When they're flying out of DC, we're the first state they fly over.
That's a good point. I never thought about that. Well, flyover is like you just fly over and you don't care. There's nothing worth stopping for. I'm sure you guys have plenty of cool things in the state that you live in.
Yeah, but they don't think so.
You live in East Virginia, right?
North Virginia.
North Virginia? Okay, because I've never been to South Virginia. South Virginia, so I heard it's a beautiful state.
Yeah, South Virginia is a beautiful state if they didn't have so many dummies living in the northern part of that state.
Oh, I know. North Virginia is beautiful, beautiful state to go visit. So people are like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm glad you're here. Glad to have you with us. And let's give everybody a geography lesson this morning. All right. Also joining us, AWAG. AWAG, what's going on? How's it going, man? Merry Christmas, AWAG. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, boys.
There we go. Did you have a good holiday, AWAG?
Yeah, I did actually.
Did you make it back to Jersey for the holidays, or did the family come visit you?
No. One of my family members has come in contact with somebody with the virus, so they had to quarantine and that completely
going named, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So also, I had a great Christmas because the Sunday after Christmas, I went to the range and we blew up some tannerite. I have a video of it, even though it's not really good quality on my channel. We sent a 55 gallon steel drum, like a solid 20, 30 feet in the air with tannerite.
That sounds like a Schwarzenegger movie, man.
Yeah, I mean, I have video evidence of it. It's on my channel.
Oh, I'm sure. This stuff's pretty. If you put it in just the right spot, you can do all kinds of magical things with tannerite.
Yeah. So next time we go out, we're gonna do traffic cones and.
Oh God.
Yeah. So thanks for the invite. I always appreciate it.
No, I appreciate having you here. You've been with us for years now. It's always good to have you join in and get your insight and your opinion on things. So awesome. All right. Also joining in, we've got a little Squib load. Squib, are you awake yet? How you doing, man?
Not awake enough to find the mute button. Yeah, good morning.
Hey, guys, make sure you check out the Squib Load channel and the Squib Lift channel. Squib Load channel's got all kinds of cool videos on there. You never know what Squib's going to put up. I mean, it could be a review for coffee. It could be a review for gun parts. There's all kinds of good stuff over there on Squib's channel, so make sure you guys do check it out. And, yeah, man, we're good to go. Squib, what's your coffee of choice this morning? What are you drinking?
I haven't brewed it yet. That's part of the problem, but I'll be I'll be brewing some Arbuckle's Mexicali. Next week, I'll probably switch back to Maxwell House for a week, and then on the weekends do the good stuff.
Do the good stuff on the weekends? Yeah. That's awesome. Cool, man. Cool. All right. And last but not least, joining in, we got Single Shot. Single Shot, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Oh, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, man. Happy 2021,
great
man.
holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah, I'm in Lawrence, South Carolina right now. I'm still waiting for these folks to finish unloading. I've been here since about 5:45. Things are kind of slow here. So
I think people are a little slow this weekend in general, man.
Yeah, there's a heck of a mess there that I had on that last load anyway. 2 stops in upper New Jersey that sucked.
Oh, New Jersey. Why would anybody ever want to go there, Wag? I mean,
hey, it's actually besides the politics, it's actually pretty nice there.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's Garden State, right? Isn't that what they call it? The Garden State?
Garden State, yeah.
The Garden State, man. That's awesome. Heck yeah, dude. All right.
But, not doing too much past that. Just waiting for these guys. I got to reload again over towards Beach Island and head back up into Maine. And then I'm going to have a couple of days off when I get up there. So
Nice.
Look forward to it.
Relax a little bit. Take it easy. You're a hardworking man, so it's good to have you with us. All right. Hardworking man or hardly working man? I don't know. One of the two. So, nah, you were in a keep, man. Also, guys, just a quick reminder, sponsor for today's show is SS Pawn in Lexington, Nebraska, which is just located off the Interstate 80 exit to Lexington. You take that exit just on the right side over there. There's a big sign that says Pawn Shop. Make sure you guys stop in there. Say hello to Stan, and SS Pawn will take care of your firearms needs. Man, what else is there going on? On the YouTube side, what was it? Guns and Barbecue. If you guys are watching on the YouTube side, he pretty much summed up Nebraska with a bunch of emojis. It's a bison, a bull, a water buffalo, a cow, a bison, a bull, over and over and over again. So if you come to Nebraska, that is what you're going to see. We're the state that has more cattle than human beings in this state. So, hey, who else is joining in with us today? We got Tony. Tony, I had a feeling you were going to be here.
Oh, my goodness. I haven't seen Tony in forever.
Tony's alive. Tony was with us about a month ago, I think. So, Tony, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. How you doing, brother?
All fine and dandy here.
He's not used to all this attention. Tony's the OG. He's up there with G-Webs and those guys in terms of the original gun podcast, old schoolers, right? Yeah. I don't think Tony anything I just said there. No.
Me and Night Strike are doing early watch again on Monday and Friday mornings.
Really? What time is that? Roughly?
8 Central.
Oh, good. Oh, you told us in Central Time, the time zone that everybody needs to know anyway. So 8 Central, Mondays and when?
Fridays.
Man, I wish I would have known. I'd have joined in with you guys last week when I was on holiday break. So maybe if I got another break coming up here, I can join you guys and do an episode. That Early Watch and the Daily Gun Show are the two podcasts that brought me into the whole gun media thing, the whole podcast thing. When I was working on my house doing painting and stuff, I put on the gun podcast. It helped me keep my sanity. It was really good to have you guys talking and really enjoyed your program. So Tony, I'm glad to have you here, man. Welcome back.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure.
I think Tony and Squib and Night Strike have been with me since episode number 1. So I was looking back on that. We're going back almost 4 years at this point. So I missed my 30s. Okay. Also joining us on the YouTube side, we got a little kingpin out there. He says, Tony is the man. Yes, he is. Carbine Phantom is out there. Justin Grimm is out there. Rich White, the poor conservative. Guns and Barbecue, 2 Live Moves in the house. Travis T, Fluffy 10mm, Jeep Guy G23. Mike is out there. Young Gun 995. What's up, Young Gun? Kingpin's out there with us today, too. A lot of conversation going on already. Tacos and French Fries is joining in. William Trader's out there. Good morning, William. How you doing, buddy? And let's see, Tennessee Gun Guys joining in, too. So let's get this discussion going. Use firearms. It's kind of an interesting area to get into because many times, I'd just be kind of browsing the gun counters. You walk by the used case, you find something, you think you can find a good deal on it, or you're strolling at your local gun show. There's a lot of used firearms there. I want to focus on different classes of firearm, specifically the pros and cons of buying used. What do you need to keep in mind? What do you need to know? And just understand that buying, Squib, you and I were kind of discussing this beforehand, buying a used firearm, it's kind of like buying a used car, right? You don't really know what you're getting yourself into. Granted, there's a lot less maybe financial liability buying a used firearm versus buying a used car. So Squib, I'm going to drop this one on you first. What's kind of your philosophy on buying used firearms? Is that something that you usually do? I mean, not counting milsurp, but like if you just go out and buy a gun, you want a gun, are you going to try to scour the used ads first and then go new, or what are your options?
In general, the only time, most of the time, I buy a used firearm is because they don't make it anymore. If it's current production, I'll probably buy it new. Every now and then, I come across a used firearm that somebody I know, somebody I trust, somebody I know who wouldn't sell me something that has a problem.
Yeah,
wants to unload it for a really good price. And that might be why I would buy something that's current production. I might buy it used. Something about a new firearm is it's probably going to have a warranty. It may only be as little as 1 year, but if you've got a problem, you can send it back and get it worked on. The other thing too is, it's new. Nobody's messed with it, but I will say this, I'm a lot more comfortable buying a used firearm for whatever reason than I am buying a used car, even though that used car, I can take it for a test drive before I buy it. Whereas the gun, it's not like you can just load up at the gun show and start banging away at it. I mean, if you're buying off of a friend and you've already shot that gun, you've gone shooting with them and you've seen it, or you've shot it and go, man, this thing is nice. And you want it, that I guess that's your test drive, but buying it at a gun show or at a gun store where they've got used inventory, you're not really going to get a chance to do much more than just handle it and look at it, shine a light down the barrel, something like that. So you take a risk no matter what, but I still feel a lot more comfortable buying a used firearm than I do a used vehicle.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's a good approach and a good way to think about it. Rich, what about you? We're just going to run through everybody here. Rich, what's your opinion on used firearms? Is that a yay? Is that a nay? Have you had negative experiences buying used guns? What do you think, Rich?
I've bought a few used ones and haven't had an issue with a single one of them. It's just, you got to know what to look for and whatnot. And one of the best used guns you can buy, and something that somebody out there in the chat brought up, Bob ATL brought it up, is police trade-ins, especially the M&Ps. They're not going to have a whole lot of rounds put through them. Typically, they're going to qualify with them, and they're going to sit in their holster most of the time. They may, depending on where you live in the department, like here in West Virginia, they have to train so many hours every month. But even then, it's not like if you take it out and put 10 magazines through it on a range trip, they're going to put 1 or 2 magazines through it, and then it's going to go back in their holster, for duty carry. And then one thing you're going to want to watch, though, if you do get one of those, is the night sights, because those are not going to be covered under any warranty because of the age of the firearm and whatnot. And those things just naturally oversold, like a 10-year period, are going to die because that's the half-life of the tritium. Because tritium, a lot of people don't realize tritium is a radioactive material. Yeah, and it's got a half-life and everything. And once it hits that half-life, they're going to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer.
What is it? Usually 10 years max on tritium sites? Is that what you can? 7 or 8 years max? Is it? Because
most of them will
half-life is 15.
15. Okay.
Yeah, but most manufacturers will warrant them up to 10 years.
Now we were looking at I was looking at the used listings over on Gunbroker, and just to see what they had, I was just checking pistols. What could you get used for under $350? And it's high now, but they were selling police trade-in Smith & Wesson M&P 40s with nice sights, 3 mags, hard case, manual, original grip inserts, everything for either $299 or $349, which was a pretty good deal because I think a new M&P is probably $500, $550 these days if you don't get it on sale. So you can get some real good deals. Now, Bob Adel says, shop had police trade Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 40, but because of COVID, you're not allowed to handle it first. No thanks. I would pick one up just because, parts are plentiful out there. If you had to buy a new recoil spring forward guide rod combo, or if you had to do some work on it, they're not that hard to work on. Plus, like we said before, let's just say that you buy the police trade-in firearm and it has 50 rounds a month that gets put on it for just qualification purposes. That seems probably high for what most officers maybe have to train with. 600 rounds a year. Okay, it's 5 years old. It's got 3,000 rounds on it. I mean, there's still plenty of usable life left in that barrel. The firearm is still going to be fine to run. You're probably going to get more outside wear than anything. And a lot of the used firearms that I've looked at that are police trade-ins, there's usually some high wear spots. There's a few parts on the grip where it's going to get worn. There's a few parts towards the front of the slide and the barrel where you're going to get some wear. Just the finish is going to start to wear from being holstered and reholstered and sitting in the vehicle. So I think you can really get a good deal in a lot of the used firearms, especially like Glocks and M&Ps. I don't think you can really go wrong. The problem is where you got to watch out is, let's just say you buy it for $350 used with one mag. Well, then you got to go buy some more mags for it. The night sights don't work. You might want to replace those, and then just with warranties real quick, that's kind of an interesting thing. I think Glock, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think Glock is a 5-year warranty, if I'm not mistaken. They're not lifetime. Smith & Wesson is lifetime. Ruger is lifetime. I don't know what Canik has. Canik was either 3 years, 5 years, or lifetime. I can't remember. High Points are lifetime. I'm trying to think what else are for some of the brands, but Taurus is lifetime also. You want to definitely know going into what kind of a warranty possibility is there if you want to send it in.
Taurus, it's lifetime warranty for the original owner only now. They changed
who is?
Taurus.
Taurus is for the original owner? Okay. Because, it used to be – I know High Points are regardless of the owner because they want the gun to function. And if there's a problem, they don't want you tinkering with it. They want it fixed, which I like High Points' philosophy. It's like we're going to take care of the customer all the way down the road, which, that's great because – I don't know. I guess I wouldn't want a product that could be failing for somebody and then they don't fix it or they pass it off, or whereas they could send it to me and I could repair it and maintain the reputation of my product. It seems kind of counterintuitive to making money in a company, but I do appreciate that High Point does that regardless of owner. Now on those Tauruses, you may be grandfathered in before a certain date though. They tend to do that a lot with their warranties. You might have a unlimited ownership before a certain production date because they've done that before too when they were limiting the warranty and then they changed it back to lifetime. So that is definitely something to keep in mind.
But I can also respect his position maybe from the standpoint of the store owner, whether they're complying with a state regulation or not, or it's their policy. They're being ridiculous. You touch the door handle coming into the store. You hand them your credit card, and they hand it back to you. You fill out the 4473 with the same pen that everybody else used or on the same keyboard that everybody else used. But you can't handle the gun and hand it back to them. That's on principle. I might go, you know what? Obviously, you don't want my business, and I'd walk out.
Yeah, not being able to handle it, I'd want to make sure the thing can dry fire, that the slide is going to be okay, there's nothing binding, that the thing even cocks properly, that the trigger functions before I leave it. I wouldn't want something that has, like a dead trigger when I get home. So, can't even slip on a rubber glove to try it. That's just, I don't know if I agree with that at all. All right. Okay, so AWAG, what is kind of your philosophy on purchasing used firearms? What are some things that people need to think about when they go into it? Or what's your mentality when it comes to buying a used rifle or a used pistol? What do you think?
Well, when it comes to used firearms, I work in a machine shop, and I sort of equate firearms to machines. They are a machine. So they have specific tolerances in which they operate at. And, I'm getting into, mumbo jumbo here, but when I look at a used firearm, and I've bought plenty of them over the years, like Squib said, if I can't find it, if they're not making it anymore, that's when I buy used. I did that with a SIG 5.56 SWAT that I have.
Mm-hmm.
They don't make them anymore. So I looked around for something used, and then I found something in the area that a guy had. Went over there and looked at it, and that's one thing. Like if you're buying off of like Arms List or something, and you want to see the firearm, you just say, "Hey, you mind if I come look at it before I, decide if I want to, pull the trigger on this?" So you basically check for function, just like test driving a car. There's a lot less moving parts in a firearm than there are an automobile. So, I guess that's why firearms are a little more reliable than cars.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you can spend thousands of dollars on a firearm, but it's nothing like buying a $15,000 or $20,000 used car with 60 or 80,000 miles on it. That's a price that's going to have trouble, down the road. So it's kind of it is kind of nice to take the used car mentality when you're searching for used firearms, though, because it's, taking around. If you could shoot it beforehand, that'd be great. If it'll let you apart and take a look under the hood, under the slide, that's good too, to see if there's any kind of abuse in there. Look down the barrel, make sure there's no pitting, make sure the chamber's not torn up. It really,
Yeah.
It's nice to have that ability when it comes to used firearms. And I purchased used firearms with no reservations at all,
And
knowing that there could be a problem when I buy it.
that's the thing with firearms is people like to complain like how many rounds are through the barrel, how many, it's if it's like for a pistol or straight wall cartridge, you're not going to wear out the barrel ever. Not in your lifetime.
You can sometimes tell by the slide wear, like on a semi-automatic pistol, the amount of just wear. If that thing is just down to the bare metal, it might have had a lot of rounds through it. Obviously, it'd be nice to have a picture of the rifling in the barrel to make sure it's got strong grooves in it or lands. Yeah. I think
with a 5.56, you're really not going to wear out a barrel in a 5.56. Like even if it's a stainless steel barrel, they can go for tens of thousands of rounds. It's absurd how barrel technology has come.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that I would check rifling on are your overbore cartridges like 300 Win Mag, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6 Creedmoor,
What about 243? Because I heard that's a pretty hot round that has a tendency to wear barrels out faster than other rifle cartridges.
Yeah,
is that just an old wives' tale thing kind of thing?
243 is one of those hot cartridges. 270, what is it? 22-250, especially. So
we're talking on a cold hammer forged barrel, 3,000 rounds before the rifling is going to be shot.
Let's
just pick something random. Let's say a 243 or a 270. What do you think if you get a rifle that's got a cold hammer forged 22-inch barrel?
If it's cold hammer forged, you're probably pushing 4,000 or 5,000.
Okay. That's what I have in my Ruger Ranch, and I've shot countless rounds to that thing, and the barrel's still got nice sharp grooves, and it still looks just like it's almost like it's brand new. I've fired so many. I've fired steel case ammo through it. I fired brass 7.62x39. I mean, I've really, I fired good ammo, not so good ammo through it. So
yeah, I checked a bore on an M4 full auto actual M4. I checked the bore on one of those, and it had 36,000 rounds through it, and the rifling was still nice and crisp.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Tony, what about you? What's your take on buying used guns? Is that something that you partake in, or is it something you avoid? What do you think, Tony?
I probably have more that I bought used than I do new. I got no issue with buying used guns, especially stuff like the Ruger or Smith & Wesson revolvers. Even if there is an issue with them, it's easily fixable.
Your Ruger revolver that you had to send into Ruger, did you buy that used before you had the issue when you sent it in? You bought that new?
I bought that brand new.
Okay.
It didn't have 30 shots through it when that happened.
Did you tell them that you were the original owner on it? Did they even ask if you bought it new or not? Or what did they say? It's been a while now. It's been a couple of years since you've done that, but did you just call them up on the phone and explain what happened and they said send it in or what?
The gun shop did that.
Okay.
But when I talked to the tech, all I told him was that I overloaded it. It was my doing. And he said the gun should have took it.
Mm-hmm.
And they fixed it. But that's the only one I've ever had an issue with.
Yeah.
And that was my own doing.
Mm-hmm.
On those rifle barrels, usually what they wear is just past the chamber. The rifling will stay good for most of the barrel, but just an inch or two beyond the chamber, they'll burn that off. So that's where you really need to look.
Does that really matter, though? I mean, does that really make much of a difference, you think, in the end or not?
Yeah, it will make one where it won't shoot.
Okay. Yeah, head spacing is something you definitely want to keep an eye on, especially, I'll just say right now, if you're looking at buying a used AK, if somebody's selling an AK and you look it up and that model had a cast trunnion, you might want to check the head spacing on it before you take delivery if possible, or have them verify that it'll pass head spacing on it. That way, it's not worn out and it's not a potential time bomb. So if you guys are looking at buying like a RAS 47, which the Gen 2 RAS 47s had a hardened trunnion, but it was still cast instead of forged. That's something to keep in mind. You guys are out looking for AKs, or you can just buy a Wasser and just not worry about it, or get a Vepr or get an Arsenal. Go with an AMD 63, 65. If you want to go that route on a used AK, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be fine there.
In all honesty, I would just try to, stay away from anything U.S. Century made. If it's an import from Century, by all means, buy it.
Yeah,
But,
the original European trunnion and parts, but an American barrel typically is what they put on.
With when you're using something like, especially a cast trunnion, is even though it'll have a good headspace, there could be micro cracks in that cast trunnion. So when you go to shoot it, it doesn't matter if it has good headspace or not, that pressure in that chamber, which is like 45, 50,000 PSI, it'll break those locking lugs right off. So.
And the thing about the RAS 47s, I had one, is I think you only have a 1-year warranty with anything that Century sells. I don't know about their imported kit guns, but I could say you get a washer or something, but I know my RAS 47 that I bought, and this was before I started investigating firearms, before I knew about the controversy with the RAS and the premature wear and stuff. I bought a Gen 2 RAS 47 and didn't know that was an issue that they could have. So it's something definitely to keep in mind.
Yeah.
We got the 1-year warranty on it, Yeah.
Yeah. And like, long story short, I would just stay away from RAS 47s, VSKAs, all those Century made guns. I'm not knocking on Century, but like they kind of made a crummy product.
I know, like, Riley Defense, I think they're forging their trunnions as of like the last 2 years or 3 years. So I would, if I got a Riley Defense AK, which is one of the least expensive AKs you can buy still, I would probably just buy one new. So you're getting the new gen ones. PSAs, the GF series, GF2 or GF3, those are all forged.
Yeah, they're I don't actually know if they're forged, but they use billet trunnions, and what they do is they take the regular soft material, then they mill it out to the to a little bit oversized proper shape, and then they send it to heat treating where they're heat treated properly, and then they're milled to final finish.
So would you think it's okay to buy one of those? Would that be a safe bet?
Yeah. From what I've seen,
there's a lot of videos on them where, like, Robski over at AK-47 Operators Union, he's run the heck out of his.
Oh yeah, they're
crap out of them and showed you the good and the bad and the things that worked and the things that didn't work. And
yeah, as much as I like forged trunnions, PSA actually does a really good job for building their AKs.
Mm-hmm. And again, we can kind of get into that when we're buying a used AR, what to look for, buying used AK, what to look for, and stuff like that. And then last but not least, single shot. What's your opinion on picking up used firearms? What do you think?
Well, I'm not really too awfully concerned about the finish on the wood or the finish on the steel itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of that stuff is just cosmetic, and most of it can be fixed anyway.
Sure.
I'll check a bolt, I'll check a slide, I'll check a cylinder, and then check the rifling in the barrel, things to look for. I mean, if it's all beat to crap, you're going to tell right off quick.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's in decent shape, which I picked up that MP40, like was mentioned before there, that thing was in excellent condition. And I got 2 mags with it, hard carrying case, a safety lock, the works there with it. And so far, that's proven out to be a pretty nice piece. The biggest thing if anybody's looking into the market for a 45, I learned long ago, because I own 4 of them. And I learned long ago that you check that slide by taking with it closed and rocking that slide back and forth. If you've got a lot of play in that slide back and forth, then you've got a worn slide, and possibly the runners on the frame are worn out. So
you're talking a 1911, though, when you say 45,
1911,
right?
yeah.
1911 pattern handgun? Okay. Yeah.
Check that slide good. And also your barrel bushing. With that slide open, you check that, it's going to be loose. But if it's closed, you shouldn't have any play at all on the muzzle of that barrel. That should be in good shape.
Okay.
So pretty much, if your other general stuff, your sights, your mounting equipment, if there's any on there, odds and ends, common sense stuff, I guess. And pretty much for the same with a shotgun, you take a look at it. And my biggest concern on a shotgun is the action in the inside of the barrel. If that thing is in bad shape, it's going to show it inside the barrel right off quick. So, that's something that I take a look into.
Hey, single shot, can you boost your volume a little bit? Maybe put your mic a little bit closer to you. They're saying you sound a little bit low on the YouTube side. They can't really hear you talking.
Okay, how about that?
Okay. Go ahead and say something.
Yeah, okay. Does that sound any better at all? Can anybody hear me?
It's a little bit louder. It's a little bit louder than it was before. Yeah, we should be. I can usually hear you when I go back and listen to the podcast. I can usually hear you with no problem. So, AWAG had to take off. So, AWAG, thank you for joining us, man. I do appreciate it. So, let's go ahead and start off here with revolvers. If you want to buy a used revolver, all right, what are some obvious things that you need to look for? I've never purchased a used revolver. Any of the revolvers I've ever purchased have been new. So, if any of you guys want to chime in with what you recommend for used revolvers, what are some things you need to look for? What do you need to know before you buy it?
The biggest thing is end play on the cylinder. You've got 3 plays that you have to check. You check that end play with a hammer down. Try to push that cylinder forward and rearward. See how much play you've got there. And after you make sure that the weapon is clear, of course I should have mentioned that before. Anyway, first, cock the hammer and try to spin the cylinder.
Play in the cylinder, yeah. When you got
make sure there's not any play there,
mm-hmm.
and your general condition of the forcing cone and the barrel inside. You should have a solid lockup when you close the cylinder if it's a swing out cylinder double action. But end play with a cylinder, side to side play with a cylinder is the 2 top things right off the bat.
Timing, any way to check the timing on it without having to actually fire it?
That shows in your cylinder when you turn it.
Okay.
Try to turn it clockwise, counterclockwise with it cocked. If you're going to have timing or problems there, it's going to show with excess play on that cylinder.
Okay. Sandhill Shooter did send me an email. He's working today, so he's not able to join in. But here's what he said. He said, when discussing used revolvers, I always mention checking the underside of the top strap for evidence of flame cutting in front of the cylinder. You can see if it's had a huge number of rounds through it, and you can also tell how meticulous a previous owner was at keeping it clean, because a lot of people miss that spot when they clean it. So the underside of the top strap. Oh yeah, that's definitely when you take the cylinder out and you look up inside the frame, that's definitely an area that you want to look for, if I'm not mistaken. Also, carbon buildup on the front of the cylinder. You can tell if it's really been cleaned or not. With the revolvers, it's pretty obvious. You can see just the wear and tear is pretty obvious because there's so much that's exposed to you when you're viewing it. So, but yeah, definitely listen to what Single Shot says, and I don't think you can go very wrong there. Anything else you guys want to add about the revolvers? Anything else we should?
You want to look at the crane. That's the part that holds the cylinder when you open it on the double action. If that thing's out of alignment, that's going to knock your cylinder out of alignment as well. And that generally will happen when you get the idiots that do the Hollywood flip the cylinder closed routine. Yeah,
I did it once.
Good for your revolvers, guys. Don't do that.
I'm still hearing about it. People comment on my video. One time I did in my video, people just flipped their crap on me, dude. Like, what are you doing? You don't ever do that. I had no idea. I was like, let's go to the range. And people were like, oh, they're just like totally. And I get it. I can ruin it. And it wasn't my revolver, but it was fine. I did it once. I would not do it on a regular basis, but yeah.
Somebody does that on one of my revolvers, they're going to get smacked upside the head.
That's exactly the comment I got from people. They told me the same thing. They said, if you did that to my revolver, you would no longer be my friend. It's like, whoa, okay, I know now. I still tell people that in comments when they tell me that. I still get more comments on that whole. Nobody cared about the shooting. Nobody cared about the gun. All they cared about was the little Hollywood style. Let's go to the range, right? I'm all excited.
Well, my wife got her
5 years later.
My wife got her Smith & Wesson 642. She did that when she got it home. I looked her dead in the eyes and I was like, don't you ever do that again.
Jeez, man. It's like a little kid's eating poison or something, man. It's just, but no, I don't blame you. I mean, because it's a good way to ruin your gun. And if you do it, then you just destroy that firearm, or you're going to have to take it in for some serious gunsmithing. And, yeah. So,
seriously, you look at like a 29, man, that's a pretty hefty piece of metal. How in the hell are you going to bend that thing, flipping that close?
Well, it's the same way with the Ruger GP100. That thing's built solid.
Maybe it's just the torque of flicking it over and over again causes it to just kind of bend in its mount over time.
It doesn't have to bend a lot, just the smallest little bit, and that can mess up your cylinder alignment, and your timing will be messed up and everything.
Forcing cone to fix that shit.
And if you got one of the lighter revolvers like the 642, that's not built to the same strength as what your 629 and whatnot is, so that's going to be a lot easier to bend.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't do it on mine, but I look at them, I'm thinking, how in the world do you bend this?
Sandhill Shooter says also make sure that there isn't carbon buildup inside the cylinder chambers from running only 38 in the 357. That'll affect chamber the longer cartridges. Yeah, so you definitely that's something I never thought about either. So I don't know when it comes to buying a used revolver. I mean, unless it was a collectible or certain very particular model that I'm looking for, I'd probably be more likely just to want to buy a new one, especially from like a warranty standpoint. Plus, I'll tell you, man, a lot of used revolvers and stuff, prices on them, there's not a lot of difference between used and new. If it's less than $75, which you see a lot of times, if you go to gun shows and such, I just buy new. I just don't even, especially a lot of times you don't get the original accessories or the case. You don't get a lot of the mags with it. And some of these handguns we're looking at, the magazines can be very expensive. You could be looking at $50 to $65, 50, 60, $70 for a magazine. If you can even source them on some guns. But we'll talk about that when we get into semi-automatics. Yeah.
On my two Smiths that I have here, I have a 629 and a 29. The 629 I bought used, 29 new. It was years old, but it was brand new. And I can't see a bit of difference in any of the quote-unquote wear areas of the guns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how many rounds went through that 629. Probably not a hell of a lot because it ain't real fun to shoot a lot with full house magnum loads. I mean, the pressure and stuff is just unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the buying of used guns doesn't bother me because it's going to be something like that. A freaking carry gun that's going to cost, $500 or less. I'll just buy a new one.
Yeah.
Travis, I want to put a link over in the live chat for a video on what to look for a used revolver. It's from a YouTuber, is David Drake. I've watched this video before, and not being as much of a revolver guy as I should be, but not having anything against revolvers, even though this is a long video, I found it interesting and educational. If I was going to the gun show looking for a used revolver, I might watch this right before I go if I wasn't much of a revolver guy. So check it out if you want.
Patriot in the Dark says, how do you tell if someone has done that before in your revolver, the Hollywood style loads? How could you guys tell? What would we say again you'd want to look for? The cylinder would be out of a parallel alignment with the frame, or what exactly would you see?
Yeah, you want to, in Patriot's case with him being blind, you want to feel that crane, make sure it's straight, and you want to make sure that your cylinder is in proper alignment. You just use your fingers and do that. And if it wiggles back and forth or side to side, you could have an issue, especially if you have the hammer cocked. Because once you have that hammer cocked, that cylinder should not move.
Yeah, definitely should be locked into place.
Be sure also that the crane is shut and there's no wiggle in that when it's latched.
Yeah, definitely. Those are things you want to look for. Sandhill Shooter points out something good, and this is a really good idea. Take a pocket full of snap caps in different calibers to the gun show or the local gun store, then just see if it'll cycle those snap caps. If you can chamber one, by dropping the slide, make sure nothing gets wedged in there. Make sure it'll extract and eject that dummy round. So as long as they'll give you permission to do that at the gun show or the gun store, that's definitely a good way to think about it. I mean, the used firearms that I purchased before, I've never done that, but that's a really good idea to do so, especially if you want to dry fire it. A lot of times they don't want you to dry fire the gun for whatever reason. If you have those snap caps, that's one way to safely, in my opinion, do it. Or maybe have used brass, but I don't know if you want to load anything that looks like a bullet in a gun show. You might want to just use the snap caps because they're usually like a bright red color, so you can tell they're dummy rounds or like a polymer round. Travis T says, cock the hammer and try to push it forward. It will reveal if a home trigger job was taken too far and the internals need replaced for safety purposes. Oh, that's one I never thought about. So if you can, when you say push it forward, you mean get it to actually physically unlock and actuate and go, or just push on it and there's play. So that's something to think about. So and then Squib's got that link on there for you guys. So check that out if you're in the market for a used revolver, if you want to save some money on it, if somebody's out there. Also, good places to check for used firearms. There's not a lot of gun shows going on in places right now because of the pandemic and stuff. So there's a lot of states that have canceled. Nebraska has had a lot of theirs, but I know there's a lot of states that don't, or their states don't allow it. So a good place to check for, and I've talked about this before, go to MEWE, go to MeWe.com and go sign up. For MeWe, I've joined several Nebraska gun groups, And it's like Facebook basically, but MeWe will let you do and say whatever you want as long as you're not breaking state law, like you're not breaking federal law with selling a firearm or whatnot. But there's lots of gun groups on there. Basically, those of us that got kicked off of Facebook for being in gun groups, those of us that got our gun groups, dismantled by Facebook, the for sale gun groups, we just moved over to MeWe. And there's like 5 or 6 that I belong to that are Nebraska based. And granted, the prices are not the best, but if you negotiate with somebody, I've bought, sold off of MeWe before. And it's pretty cool. The only bad thing about MeWe is I think if you want to use it on the mobile, you have to download the app. And it's a pretty bloated app. It takes up a lot of room on your phone, but you can just use it through your computer if you want to. And again, I recognized a lot of the names and faces on MeWe that were in the same groups as me over on Facebook. So I'm confident and comfortable, trading with these people. And there are people on MeWe that just blatantly put a message out there. They say, hey, has anybody done business with this person before? Are they, somebody of a good reputation that you should buy a gun from? Or has anybody bought from this guy or this gal or, And so it's a good way it's kind of odd though, because there's a lot of guns that get put up on MeWe and they don't sell. They'll post for months. And a big part of it is people are asking prices that are at retail or near retail. I'd go maybe 25 or $50 below new and throw in a box of shells. And that was an easy way to seal the deal on any of the guns that I ever sold on MeWe. Now it's really slowed down a lot, the buying and selling, but that is one play that you can go. So the one way that you can go. So now, granted that you got to watch your local laws, your state laws and stuff. If they require background checks and this and that. Nebraska doesn't, but there are certain documents you have to have if you want to buy a handgun from another Nebraska resident and so on. Long guns, it's much easier. But that's just one way you can go actually finding the used guns, especially if you're not doing the gun show thing. And then there's always Gun Broker, which is a little high, but it's an option for you. Arms List is another option for you too. Some of the big gun websites like Bud's Guns and CDNN, they have a used gun section you can check. And you'll usually save some money, but by the time you throw in shipping and tax and FFL fees, it can really start to cost you quite a bit. So that's just something to think about. All right, now let's go and move into AR-15s. I've never bought a used AR-15 before. The AR-15s that I have, I've taken them apart and cleaned them and reassembled them enough and built one of my own to know what to look for. But let's just say you're going to the gun show, and maybe you're looking for an AR-15. You stumble upon one. It looks like a pretty good deal. The price is a couple hundred or maybe $100 below new. Squib, I'm going to put this one on you. What are some things you should look for before you take home that used AR-15? What would be some things you would look for to know if it's been abused and misused and so on? What do you think?
I think I'm probably the wrong person to ask for this. I have a very strict policy. I will never, ever buy a used AR-15 ever.
Okay. Is it just because there's so many potential problems you could run into, or is it just it's just not worth it in the end, or what?
For me, first off, buying all the parts new, it's affordable. The other thing is you don't know what these people have mismatched with. They might go, oh, it's this or that. If you don't really care, if you just want a gun that goes bang, and it doesn't matter you, it doesn't matter you. For me, I put them all together with the parts I want, the way I want, with the brand I want, with this, with that, with this. Even if I saw something that looked like something I would want, for me, it's going to have mismatching parts, or in some cases, they might be using a poor quality part. So it would have to be something where new stuff costs 10 times what a used one cost in order for me to even give it a thought. So I guess I'm kind of an AR-15 snob there. I just don't see a reason to ever buy a used AR-15. And there are people that just Frankenstein these things together. And I'm not saying you have to have all matching stuff, but if you're real particular about stuff, people Frankenstein these things together with you name it. And I just because everything is fairly easily available, it's affordable. I mean, you can still buy strip lowers right now. You can still buy all that stuff. $100
for the kit, for the parts kit.
If you're somebody who says I can't put one together, and off air, Rich made a great analogy. If you can build a computer, you can build an AR, and you can. If you can't, if you're one of these people who says I can't put one together, or you're one of these people who knows nothing about an AR-15, and you've got to jump in with a complete one, new, used, or what have you, to learn, I guess I get it, but I would say get some knowledge. Really on the AR, I suppose pull the charging handle, make sure it cycles. check it out for different sorts of wear all around. I mean, there are plastic parts on there. If this person beat and banged this thing around, something could be cracked or what have you. Look down the sights, point it up at the ceiling or whatever safe direction you've got. Look down the sights, see how they look. It's one of those things. It's like if a used car was $5,000 and a brand new car was $6,000, why would you ever buy a used car, kind of thing? So AR-15 is just one of those. I guess I'm just quirky about that.
No, I agree. And honestly, when I've gone to the gun shows, the used ARs that I see, they're asking basically what I could get for a PSA or a Bear Creek upper and a PSA lower. I mean, you can get, Bear Creek upper for now $350. You can get a lower for $200 complete, $550 done. They might be selling something with sights and a mag with it for like $600. It's like, why would I go that route and buy used? I do agree with you on that because you don't know what parts have been swapped out on it. You don't know if it's had any issues. You don't know if it's been shot hard. You don't know if the chamber's worn out. They might have run a lot of steel case ammunition through it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ifs involved in it that you could take it apart and inspect it and look at it. You could bring a dummy around with you and see if it'll chamber a snap cap and at least go that route. But unless it's like a Colt or a SIG or something I just couldn't get if I just wanted an AR, I'd be pretty hard pressed to buy a used AR-15. That's the one thing on MeWe, the people that are selling used ARs, and I was one of them, they're asking basically retail price for a used gun, and they might include a red dot on it or a couple mags and some ammo, thinking that's going to make up the difference. No, I'll just go buy new.
And the other thing, too, is a lot of times you're going to take stuff off that AR if it's brand new out of the box complete, or if you bought it used or something, and you're going to change out the grips, or you're going to change out the sights, you're going to change out the stock, or you're going to, and now once again, going back to I've never handled an AR. I don't know. Okay. If you don't know, you don't know, but somewhere down the road, you're going to go, yeah, I want to change this. So at that point, you start messing with your own rifle. You start to get a feel for it. I think at that point you might get the same sort of idea that for what it costs, I might as well just buy it new. So, I guess, what I'm saying isn't really going to make a whole lot of sense to somebody who's new to guns, but I'd say this, get some gun friends.
Yeah.
Get some gun friends.
They'll probably talk you into going new. I mean, you can get a brand new AR, and I'm not just pushing for PSA, but you can get a brand new PSA AR for $600. You just got to add a rear sight and a magazine and you're in business. I mean, they're $599. Why not just go that route or spend $649 and get it with the Magpul furniture already on it and save yourself $60 or $100 down the road, I don't know. Sometimes you see them used and they look like they've really been beat up and stuff and tossed around and, unless it was a friend and I knew how much they had put through it or I would trust them. That's the only way that I would, buy or sell, a used firearm. With me, I tend to keep track of my round counts because I tend to know what's gone through a gun. And I don't shoot a lot of my personal firearms anymore because I'm always testing other firearms from SS Pawn. So, I hardly have any wear and tear in the firearms that I own. The one that's probably got the most rounds through it, well, my Bear Creek AR's probably got, I know it's got over 1,000 rounds through right now because I put a case of steel through it itself over 4 or 5 years. And not to mention all the brass I've shot through it. But yeah, check if you're going to buy a used one, check the barrel, make sure the barrel's not pitted, make sure it's got strong rifling in it, make sure that just the cycling feels smooth, that it locks up properly, that the hammer drops on it, that it doesn't have a dead trigger. All those things are things that you definitely want to look for. So not really hearing much on the YouTube side about the ARs. Let's move into bolt action rifles now. Let's get into bolt action rifles. We talked a little bit about certain hot calibers, 22, 250, 243, 270. Checking the barrels to make sure that they're not shot out, make sure they're not pitted, make sure that they're strong, rifling in the barrel. Have you guys everybody used bolt action before? And if so, what are some of the things that you've looked for? Not counting millstrip, because millstrip's a whole different discussion altogether. What do you guys think? Yeah,
got an older Remington 700 BDL once, and I guess it was before Mem parts and whatnot. It had an optic. It was in really good shape. It hadn't been shot a lot. You could tell somebody would take it out, go deer hunting, throw it back in the closet, right?
Yeah.
And I had my grandpa bore sight it, and it was good to go. I ran all different kinds of ammo through it, even some really hot stuff, and it ran really good. But it was one of those the price you can't pass up. It was before there was Freedom Group or any of that other stuff, so it was a whole different time back then.
Yeah, I had a Remington 710 that I traded for just a basic Ruger 1022 with a polymer stock. The guy and I traded straight up, and he just used it. He kept it as a second backup gun for deer hunting. Like if you take guests with him on his property, they would use that gun. It was a 243, really nice. I really should have kept it because I discovered things about it later on that I didn't know, and a lot of people hated the 710 because it was the first time that Remington, and it was pre-Freedom Group. It was like an 01 or 02 model or something like that. It was pretty old. And or it's like there was 1 year of production for the 243 for the 710s, and it was the first time that they started using polymer parts, gasp, in the trigger group and around the bolt and everything, and it basically dropped the price down like $100 below or 150 below a 700, and so that's it's kind of a controversial gun. A lot of people didn't like it because of that, and I took a look at it. Everything seemed pretty solid. The bolt locked up tight. It had a great trigger on it. He had multiple, and I knew this guy, and he did a lot of shooting, and he had posted pictures on Facebook and stuff with this rifle being used in deer hunts. I knew it was a solid purchase. It did have the factory optic that came with it, which was nothing to write home about. It was just an off-brand 3 to 9x40. But I mean, it was great. It was a straight up trade. I think it cost me in the end, it would have cost me like $220. And now if you look at those 710s, they're $400 rifles on Gunbroker used. So I think it's a solid purchase. I mean, buy from a reputable brand. You also want to make sure you can still get magazines for that model because there's a possibility that it might be out of production and you might want a second mag. Like this had just a plastic box magazine with it. So if you ever broke it, you'd be out unless you want to just single load your shells and not use a magazine with it, which I wouldn't recommend. But that's the other thing too. That's another thing too in general. When you're buying these used guns, look and see what magazines cost for it. Can you even get mags for it? With a lot of your surplus firearms, you might have trouble sourcing new mags for it.
I'll be right back. Man.
No problem, man. Or if you, if you're looking, you might find out the magazines are $40, $50, $60, which
or more.
Or more.
Yeah.
I really wanted to buy a Mauser M18 bolt action rifle, and I was looking at them, and the bolt action rifles are great. $429 for a 308, brand new Mauser M18, just a basic bread and butter deer rifle, right? And 308. Magazines are $60, and you're not getting original production magazines. You're getting an aftermarket mag that somebody else is making for Mauser. You don't have any kind of mounts for it at all for the scope, and a scope mount for it. The mounts are like $100. So when this is all said and done, I'm going to be dropping $600 or $700 in this thing. I would rather just go to my local gun store and just pick up a Ruger American or just pick up something else that's ready to go with mags that are readily available. So sometimes there's kind of an offset. Now that's buying new, but that's the same situation you could run into with used. I know there's certain types of Taurus pistols that people are always messaging me about, like, hey, where do I find mags for this gun? I can't find mags anywhere. When they switch the production line, they discontinue the mags. They're not even made by Mechgar. What do I do? And I try to help people find magazines and stuff, and it's really a pain. Those are just things to keep in mind if you're going used. Can you even get accessories for it or parts anymore? Most parts aren't really an issue so much. They can be, but they're not. But if you get, say you buy a certain brand of gun and it's, like, let's just say like one of these just Turkish shotguns, okay, semi-automatic shotguns. Can you get parts for it domestically if you need them? Is there a repair facility from the importer in case you need to get it fixed? These are things to keep in mind when you go buy these used guns, because sometimes it might look like a good deal, but you might be getting yourself into more than what you're looking for. Let's see, Carbine Phantom says, I love Mauser. Yeah, I really want to get that M18. I just don't know if I'm going to drop, in excess, when it's all said and done, $600-700 on this thing. I've got an optic for it. It looks awesome, but man, I could save $200 and just get a Ruger American in 308 and just call it good. So I don't know. For basic deer gun, I don't think it makes a lot of difference, but I thought maybe I'd treat myself and get something different, but I didn't realize how much of it was a pain to get this thing totally set up when it's all said and done. Yeah, so for the bolt action rifles, pitting, good tight action and lockup. Make sure it hasn't been bubbified too much.
With regard to the bolt actions,
Mm-hmm.
this is a question for everybody on the panel. Have you been to a gun show where they've got all of the bolts out of the rifles and they've got a zip tie, a cable tie run through where the bolt goes, and you ask, or the magwell, or through the back of the action there, depending on what kind of bolt action it is there, and you ask if you could put the bolt in and cycle it, and the gun dealer says, no, I'm not cutting the zip tie. You can't put it in there. Take it or leave it. I've had that situation and just kept walking.
Yeah, me too. When I bought the Mosin Nagant, that I bought one at the gun show last spring in Lincoln, Nebraska. The guy had a cable tie around it. He just did it. I don't know if they required it at the gun show, but I asked him, I said, I really want to check the action and make sure it's going to lock up and make sure it doesn't flop out when I pull the trigger. And I want to look down the barrel because it was a thick zip tie and I couldn't get a light down the barrel. He goes, absolutely. He snipped it. He goes, I got a whole bunch of cable ties. And he goes, do what you want. I'm like, all right, cool. I took the bolt out, inspected the bolt. It wasn't pitted. Looked down the barrel. It still had pretty good rifling in it. I'm like, all right, you got a deal, buddy. But I don't disagree. Yeah, they do that a lot with. Now, a lot of the really good gun tables that I'll go look at the used gun show or at the gun shows, they'll have, electronic cable locks around all the pistols, and they can unlock the cable lock and you can play with the action. You can look at it, you can cycle it, dry fire it. They're usually pretty good about that. But you're right, Squib. If they don't let you do it, it might not be worth checking out. So, yeah, go ahead, Tony.
I think I've seen that at a couple of tables at Wanamaker.
Cable ties?
Yeah, where they wouldn't let you take the cable tie off or break it or whatever.
I mean, their cable ties are 10 cents a piece. Why wouldn't you? And I've had that situation before too. Like, nope, won't take it off. Take it or leave it. It's like, no, I'm not going to take a chance. Sorry, bud. And they don't care. And then you see that gun next year at the gun show and they still haven't.
Yeah. Have you noticed that too? Okay.
There's a lot of repeats that because we have a lot of the same vendors that go to the gun year after year. I will see the same Setme CO3 308 sitting there. I'll see the same handgun sitting there. I mean, it's funny. It's weird,
Eventually, that cable tie is going to break off, and then they'll be able to sell it.
Well, they got to snip it when they pack it up anyway. What difference does it make?
Well, the thing is, you pack it up, put it in the trailer, take it back to the shop, unpack it. The next weekend, you load it in the trailer, take it out to the show, unpack it, lay it out on the table. Nobody wants to buy it again. After a while, you think they'd either be a little bit more friendly or maybe lower the price or something. But nope, some of these guys are stubborn. And yeah, I've seen some of the same guns year in and year out, and you could tell it's the exact same gun. And it's like, how do you make any money, dude? How do you make any money? Could you imagine if the car lot was like, nah, you can't test drive it? And you're like, all right, fine, I'll just go down the street to the other car lot. And they're just sitting there with the same inventory they had last year.
And a lot of the times, like, what I could get locally when I was living in Lexington at SS Bond, I'm just saying I'd go there. His prices would be below what these guys were asking at the gun show. They'd be asking MSRP or above. And if you just go locally and negotiate for a better price or ask for a better price, many times you can get it. It's like, will you match this? It's been pretty rare that I bought a new gun at a gun show. I don't know if I ever have, to be honest with you. I mean, it's really got to be something that I really want, and I got the cash, and the person's not willing to negotiate to drop the price on it. I mean, that's the other thing too. When you go buy them used, negotiate hard. Just say, I can give you this much cash right now. Take it or leave it. And sometimes they'll take it. Sometimes they won't, because they're thinking, well, there's always somebody else, especially now where people are buying anything and everything. I think it's going to be pretty hard to negotiate on used guns, just because there might be somebody who's desperate that wants a gun and they don't care what they buy. And they see this sitting here. It looks like a good price. I'll take it. And they might have paid close to retail on something that was used that was pretty beat up. So that's something to think about too.
Well, that's what I was just going to say is it's a seller's market. If you don't have to have a gun right now, I would hold off and see if this straightens around eventually.
Yeah, if I buy anything, like I said, I'm in the market for a new deer rifle. If I buy anything, it would just be, they're not like Ruger Americans aren't really going over their MSRPs at all. That Mauser's way under MSRP. I'm seeing $429 for that Mauser before shipping and tax and FFL transfer fees and stuff. So, something like that, yeah. But a lot of handguns, like your Glocks and SIGs, they're going for regular retail price. They're not going for over. Not Nebraska, at least. I don't know about other states. But you're right, Tony. That's a good point. If you can wait it out or wait to see if any rebates come out. I haven't really noticed any rebates, because usually about this time, Smith & Wesson will have a rebate that'll come out, or Springfield will have a rebate come out, or they'll have like free mags that they're going to offer you, or Taurus is going to have a rebate. I'm not seeing it at all. I think they were a little hard to sell guns maybe 2 years ago because the market was so saturated. They were offering all these great deals, and we were seeing these just giveaway prices on stuff, and that's just not the case anymore. But do some investigating on price before you go. Say go to Gunbroker and just look up and see what somebody's asking for, like, say whatever handgun you're looking for. Write down some prices, and then when you go to the gun show, know what's available. Or when you go to your local gun store, know what maybe a good asking price is, and then see if you can negotiate on that level and try to get a good deal. Bob Addles, did you talk about buying used pistols yet? Just revolvers. Let's get into semi-automatics now. Let's talk about semi-automatic pistols, whether all metal or poly pistols. So Single Shot was talking about something with the 1911s, the barrel bushings running out, the slides being janky or loose, recoil springs being worn out. That can apply to a lot of your all metal pistols, like maybe your CZs or your SIGs and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely look for any kind of play in the action that would seem abnormal. Everything should be tight and locked up, especially if the gun's not chambered. That's something to definitely watch for, like a very easy to cock slide. If it's not a Smith & Wesson easy, it probably shouldn't be super easy to cock the slide. You might be looking at having to replace the guide rod spring combo or the recoil spring. Keep that in mind. I don't know what's some of the other advice you guys could give people if they're buying a used, let's say a used Glock or a used M&P or a used H&K. What do you guys think?
Magazine lockup. Make sure your
magazine lockup.
Yeah. If your magazine falls out easy, you got it too easy, I should say. You got a problem. You want to make sure that thing's going to lock in there solidly. You shouldn't be able to push the magazine in and then pull it right back out again without hitting your mag release.
But I'll say you could replace the mag release in the spring that's in there easily on most.
Well, yeah, it could be with some of the polymer magazines that some of the manufacturers have now. Could be an issue with the magazine itself as well. If the lug on the magazine's bad.
Okay. Squib, what do you think? Oh, whoever.
Go ahead, Squib.
I was just going to say, don't drop the slide without asking permission first. People lose their minds over that. There are people out there that seem to think that if you drop the slide, you're breaking the gun.
What the hell they think happens every time you fire it? That's my question.
Yeah, but I mean,
the force is reduced when you're chambering around versus dry dropping.
All I'm saying is there's a reason I won't buy Wilson Combat. Maybe their magazines or a few parts off of them, but never a complete gun.
You know, the thing of it is, on most of these, like the Glock and the Smith & Wesson, they're easy to fix.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, most of them internal parts.
Everything can be swapped out. I mean, barrel, striker, whatever, springs, kits. I mean, it would just suck to buy something used that's going to take some diagnosing to figure out what's wrong with it. But a lot of the times, it's going to be a lot of the same typical problems. You know, it could be an ejector issue, and it could be an extractor issue. Things like that. But I wouldn't hesitate to buy a used pistol. I mean, for me, like for semi-automatics, I would probably go more just the police trade-in route. Hopefully it's not like a training range gun that's had a buttload of shells through it, but many times they talk about the condition of the guns. When you read the descriptions, when the people that are selling it, they might say light holster wear, you know, a little dirty or whatever, you know, some wear on the palm area from getting in and out of a service vehicle. Things like that, but I've never really hesitated to buy a used semi-automatic handgun, knowing buying it that there could be problems with it. But then again, worst case scenario, you can always send it into the factory and get it fixed, especially if it has a warranty. If it's a Smith & Wesson or a Ruger or a High Point or a Taurus, you can send those in and get those fixed if you need to, and that would be covered under warranty. Except, like we said, the Tauruses now might be original owner only for the new warranty, so that's something to keep in mind.
You know, I have 5 semi-auto pistols, I think. And only one of them I got new, and I won it. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
So I got no problem with buying a used one of those neither.
Yeah. And let's see, Rich, you got a good deal on your H&K, didn't you? You got is it a USP?
Yeah, I paid about $600 for it used.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen $500 to $600 for a used H&K USP and 40 Smith & Wesson. I mean, versus $999 brand new. What I really miss, where I'm kicking myself now, is when CDNN was selling their SIG red boxes, the SIG certified factory refurb pistols.
Mm-hmm.
They were selling the P228s and 229s and 226s for $499.
Yeah,
my God, man, a 940 or 357 SIG. I'm totally kicking myself for not buying one now.
Yeah, and those were not U.S. made. Those were the German made ones still.
Yeah. Or you could have an option. It would be a German made frame or a U.S. made frame, depending on what they had in stock. But man, those had a SIG 1-year warranty with them, I believe, that came with them. I don't know if an original, if you buy a full price, like regular SIG, if they have a lifetime warranty or not. But that's nice to know that it's gone back to the factory for refurbishing. Parts and components are replaced. You get 2 or 3 magazines with it. You get all the original accessories. I mean, that's where I'm kicking myself right now. The funny thing is, after the gentleman down in Texas shot the guy in the church, I can't remember what his name was. He's the former instructor, the guy with the beard and the cowboy hat. When he shot the guy that pulled his weapon out in the church and shot him, the firearm that he used was I think a 228 or SIG P229 and 357 SIG. After that happened and people found out what gun he had, I swear to God, those things sold out everywhere within a week. Everybody's like, that's the carry gun that I want. That's going to be the gun that's going to work. So I'm trying to buy one of these. I'm trying to buy one of these at the worst time ever, you know? Yeah.
What if he had pulled a Bible out from the back of one of the pews and beat the guy to death? Would everybody run out and get a King
there'd be a run on
version?
King James Edition Bibles everywhere. Amazon would have sold out. What if he would have used the High Point C9, you know?
Turn to the page in the hymnal to hymn 357.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the end of the Bible? What do we have? The book of what? The one that talks about the world.
Yeah, the Revelations.
Revelations. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
revelation. Where you get it upside the head with the
Yeah.
knocks the guy over. You know, the New Testament load. Yeah,
Yeah.
Old Testament load. That'd be a 45 ACP, right?
No, 44 Special would be Old Testament, and 44 Magnum would be New Testament.
Mhm.
No, 44 Russian would be Old Testament, 44 Special and 44 Magnum would be New Testament.
Man,
A year ago,
we're getting metaphorical here on faith and religion. But you're
A
right.
year
That was the
ago,
funny thing, trying to get that same gun. God, they were sold out everywhere, and all I could find was new, and I wasn't going to drop $1,000 on one. You know? Oh man, so I wish I would have bought one.
honestly, a year ago, I would have told people to be sure and look at ammunition availability for whatever used gun you're buying ordinarily. But hell, there's no ammo available now, so it don't matter.
Yeah, when we were talking about some of the surplus guns, you know, people were buying like a Tokarev pistol because they were $179, $199. You know, Tokarev ammo. Here, it's not easy to find locally. You might have your own luck with it elsewhere, but here I've only seen it a couple times on the shelf at Cabela's, and it was Red Army Standard brand. I could order it at that point. Then I got a Makarov pistol myself, and I'm able to get. Funny part is I can get 9x18 Makarov ammo all day at the local gun store, and it's $12.99 a box. So I've been buying a box of it every time I go out to that gun store. In fact, I only go there for that ammo because their 9mm like $27 a box for 9x19 Luger. So if I want, you know, Makarov ammo, I just buy that, you know. But yeah, and by the way, if you have a Makarov pistol, they do make Hornady Critical Defense in 9x18 Mac. That's what I keep in that particular pistol. That I did a whole series of videos on that pistol, which I love. It's a great pistol. It's fun to shoot. I've done some modifications to it to make it much more pleasant to shoot. But ammo availability is a big one, man. If you go buy a 38 Super or some of these, you know, just maybe not so popular calibers, or even
5 ACP.
Yeah, or even more expensive calibers, like 10mm is an expensive habit to have if you don't reload your own. My first handgun that I ever bought was a Gen 2, I think, Glock. It didn't have a rail on it, so it was a Gen 2 Glock G20. Loved it, but at the time, this was pre-internet ammunition sales. This was back in like the late 90s, I think, when I got it, just when I turned 21. And I mean, it was expensive to take to the range. A box of ammo was like $27.50 for a box of 50 shells. And I mean, and ammo range time was $25 an hour. And I was a cash-strapped college student. I mean, I didn't have the extra money to really practice with it or shoot as much as I want. So eventually I just went ahead and traded it off for a 9mm.
That cost would probably be a bargain today.
Oh, well, 10mm at our local Shields, 10mm is readily available, and it's not that expensive. Blazer makes 10mm now, and I want to say it's like maybe $20 a box. Obviously, if you have a defensive load like a gold dot or a critical defense round, it's going to be about $1 a round, but or $1 a quarter a round. But no, you're right. Yeah, but it was an expensive gun though, and that's the thing too. Ammunition costs. You know, if you want to get that used 44 Magnum Desert Eagle or that used 357 Magnum Desert Eagle, you know, because it's like $300 or $400 below new, man, just know what you're getting yourself into. And some guns can be somewhat ammo specific. I know with Desert Eagles, if you buy a used one, or just any Desert Eagles in general, like the 44 Mag and the 357, they have a list of recommended ammunition you run through it from a variety of brands that they can say is going to reliably cycle. So you might go buy some steel case Tula, whatever, thinking you're going to run it through it, and it might not fire. It might jam every single time. So just, yeah, a lot of little things you got to take into consideration if you're researching picking up a used firearm.
If you got a Desert Eagle, don't be cheaping out and buying steel cased ammo.
Man, a lot of people might just have enough money to buy the gun, and then I've been saving up for one. I got the money in my change jar. I'm gonna go get that Desert Eagle. You know.
Now, Tony, I can tell you that the 44 Magnum Desert Eagle will cycle MagTech.
I think that's the one that I tested the 357, I think, on my channel, and it had a list of like 6 or 7 recommended loads of ammunition you should run through it that they say that they can basically guarantee is going to feed reliably. And I ended up getting, I don't remember what the ammo was I bought for, but I was able to buy it at Cabela's. But it would have been a pain having that, especially now if I couldn't find it. I mean, where are you going to go? You know, do you want to pay $2 a round now at today's prices? Probably not.
That's why I load my own.
Oh my God. William Trader says, what do you want for the Ruger Ranch? Because you can't find one anywhere. I hope they didn't stop making those, William. Man, I can't get rid of it. That is my absolute favorite rifle. In fact, I just bought a couple more Mini 30 mags for it, a couple more 20-round box mags for it. A lot of people want a Ruger Ranch in 7.62x39. William, honestly, spend a couple $100 more and get a CZ 527 with iron sights on it. Because, you know, if you find a Ranch, it's probably not going to be much of a price difference versus a brand new 527, which I think is like $550. Mags are a little expensive for the 527, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Zastava has a new production 762 by 39 bolt action that you can buy that's got iron sights on it. And if you check over maybe at Atlantic Firearms, they carry one too. But yeah, you're the second person that's asked me if I wanted to sell the Ruger Ranch. Man, I can't get rid of it. That is the least expensive to shoot, most powerful rifle I basically have in my inventory right now. I can't bring myself to get rid of it. So I appreciate the offer. Maybe trade it for a pickup truck, William. If you got a pickup truck, I might be willing to make a negotiate with you on that. I'm looking for a Silverado or a GMC Sierra, late 90s. If you got one, maybe Silverado. We'll do some dealing. I've got lots of ammo to go with it. A couple magazines, optic on there, ready to go. So I'll have to put that out next time. I'll put that behind me for the next episode of Caliber Corner. Okay, what else? Okay, let's talk about shotguns real quick. Pump action shotguns. Buy them used, yes or no? What do you guys think? Would that be one of the most, like you could get it and worry the least out of all the firearms you could possibly buy, or not?
Joe Biden says so.
Mm-hmm. No, he's a double barrel guy, isn't he?
I
he
have
likes the
had
Double barrel.
I have had more used pump shotguns than I can remember, and I have never had one that didn't work. Mostly I have Springfield or Stevens, whatever the hell you want to call them, Model 67s. And I've had a dozen or so of those. Never had one that had a problem.
Yeah, I'm pretty much a dyed-in-the-wool Mossberg guy when it comes to shotguns. I've never had a semi-auto shotgun. That's something I like to add to my collection. Oh, I shouldn't talk. I do have a TriStar setter over under 12 gauge that I bought for trap shooting that I haven't taken out yet. But, Mossberg's a pretty solid purchase. If you want to go that route, Remington is going to be – what do you guys think about the new Remington shotguns? Do they have any issues or not? I mean, are they still a solid purchase these days? Because, with Remington do they even have repair facilities anymore? Do you guys know anything Remington? If you buy it, are you out of luck with repairs?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I don't even know if you can get your Remington. Because I don't even know if they're still even functioning. Well, yeah, I don't even know if they're going to be functioning anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah, Remington, now Rem Arms, the company that bought them, changed the name to Rem Arms, is in the process of reopening their New York facilities. They're going to be they're hoping to be making more firearms there starting on the 16th of this month, having it fully open and everything. But they also have the union trying to sue them because they went right to the workers and went over to union to talk about people coming back to work at the plant, the people that were laid off. So it's going to remain to see what happens, because New York's one of those unions control everything states. So if everything goes right,
the first thing they need to do is move the company out of New York. Do not manufacture firearms, ammunition, or accessories in anti-gun states.
Dude, there are so many gun factories that are in New York, though. I mean, it's crazy how many actual guns are made there, or made in those kind of, liberal lockdown leftist Democrat states that have hardcore gun regulations. It's crazy. Connecticut, Maryland, New York, a lot of those states have or had lots of gun factories that, a lot of those companies have moved now, but there's still many that are making them there.
And don't get me wrong, I buy stuff from Numrich. They're in New York. They've been in New York forever, right? Yeah. And I buy gun parts from companies that are manufacturing them in California.
Yeah.
Why these people don't pack up and move, I just don't get it. This is how you send a clear message to these states: is we are taking our business, we are giving our tax dollars to a gun-friendly state, and you flip them the bird and you walk out the door. And I just don't get why you stay. You're gonna if you stay there, you're gonna keep having these problems.
I agree with that 100%. Plus, it's probably gonna get worse.
So if you're going to get yourself a used shotgun, maybe get yourself a nice, like an older Winchester, get yourself an older Remington, or just go with the Mossberg. That's what I have. I've had one for probably 15 years now. I've got an 835 Ultimag, which has a swappable barrel. They'll let you shoot slugs through it. It's got a rifled barrel that you can put on for deer hunting and big game hunting and stuff like that. But yeah, that's been that 835 has been a great shotgun for me. It's built on a 10 gauge receiver. So that's one to consider, the Mossberg 835 Ultimag. That's what I run. You can run 3.5-inch Magnum shells through and stuff. I've never really done a review on. I did talk about it on my channel, owning it, but I've never actually taken it out and fired it in the field. But I've used it for shooting, clay pigeons, just for fun, for hunting. Took it out and put the different barrel on it for deer hunting one year. I mean, it's a solid shotgun. So that'd be a good way to go. Go ahead.
There is one other route to consider on the shotguns too, and that's a break action single shot, because you can get those for nothing.
Or maybe like a used over under. Do you need to worry about those being worn out though? Is that a possibility that there's some issues you can run into or not?
I doubt it.
Okay. Maybe if
Maybe
they've got automatic ejectors, that could be something that might need some servicing if it's had a lot of rounds through it. Maybe the take up on it. It should be solid when you lock it. It should be a solid piece, you know.
It's unlikely that the single shot's going to be ran a lot of rounds through it. I mean, I could see the over and under being shot a lot per trap, but single shot, no. And they make adapters that you can put in those things to shoot 22, 9mm, 44, whatever the hell.
Oh yeah. I did buy the Midland backpacker shotgun, which I'm a little disappointed because they claimed that they were going to come out with barrels for it that were designed for particular calibers. They were going to do, you know, basically center fire rifle barrels for it. And they never came out with it. And they never came out with the little inserts for the panels to change the colors and the grip texture and stuff like that. And they said they were going to. And that was a little $125 single shot break action that I bought. I would have rather just bought like $100 H&R from Walmart, just a single shot break action, you know, that like a 12 gauge, and just save my money without hoping that something else was going to come out. But I don't disagree with you, Anya. That's definitely the way to go. Now, what about semi-automatic shotguns? Would you buy a used one? I've always thought about going this route because you can get some good deals, but I worry about people not maintaining the gas systems, maybe needing some tweaking to make them run properly. Would you guys buy a semi-automatic shotgun, say, for hunting?
I would not have the slightest fear of buying a Browning A5.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's my bucket list gun right there. The A5 or the Satori, either one of those two are going to be the Auto 5. Yeah, the A5 would be solid. Mainly because you got the parts availability and the gunsmith knowledge, and there's, you know, that would be definitely one that I would go with.
I wouldn't
I don't know.
be afraid of a 1100 Remington either, or whatever Winchester made. I think it's 1300, but I may be off. I don't keep up with Winchester that much.
Mm-hmm.
I
shotgun is probably my least knowledgeable area. All I know is what I want, which is an A5. A Browning A5 would just be the bomb for me. But
you can't go too wrong with a Mossberg 935 either. They're well-made shotguns too.
Kevin Jung is saying I bought a Mossberg 930 used. It's great, and I would do it again. Battle Bean says I think it depends on the brand. Yeah, there's some really nice Mossberg semi-autos that you can pick up. Benelli, Stoeger, I mean, they're fine. You start to get into some of these Turkish brands when they get into the tactical style shotguns. You really got to read the reviews on those. I know that there is a popular one that our local gun store here pushes. It's the Typhoon shotgun. It looks like an AR pattern shotgun, 12 gauge. And they're cool. I mean, I've handled them. They're hefty, man. They seem to be really well built. But they've had some issues that I've read about online with the gas ports having burrs in them, and that was causing cycling issues where people were just trying to run birdshot through them, just like I don't know if you want to call it low brass or whatnot, 2 3/4 inch shell, and they wouldn't cycle properly. And so do some research. If you're going to buy a used shotgun, do some research and see if there's any common issues that gun has. Parts availability is an issue. Serviceability, is there something that you can take apart yourself and service if you need to? But yeah, again, if you buy used, there's always a possibility that you're going to have to do something to it.
Yeah, the thing you gotta look at with some of these more tactical style semi-automatic shotguns, they're not made to shoot birdshot. They're made
buckshot or a heavy
buckshot
load
or slug. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you put so many rounds of buckshot through them, and then they might start cycling the birdshot. Or if they have an adjustable gas system, you might be able to use birdshot. But you want to start with buckshot with those, or because they're going to be finicky with birdshot. If you throw birdshot in that right at the door, you're not going to have reliable action in a lot of those tactical ones, like the Vepr 12, the Sega 12.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, all those. That's that type of shotgun. You're just not going to get 100% reliability using birdshot as your primary source, especially right at the beginning.
Yeah, when I was looking those Typhoons over, you know, they're $1,100 shotguns. That's a lot of money to drop on a tactical shotgun. And you know, people were saying that, well, you know, the gas port issues were caught. There was 4 or 5 people that had to polish out the gas ports because of burrs machining. That was not, you know, I was looking at photos of this, and yeah, you're going to want it to run well, because they were saying, yeah, I could only run, you know, this grade of shell through it or that grade of round through it, that having cycled properly. And that's not something I would run into. So if I was going to get one, I mean, I wouldn't really have a way to inspect the gas ports before I brought it home. But if I got it, knowing that that's a possibility, that's something you could run into once you get it and start diagnosing issues. So if you're not comfortable working on your own firearms, all I would say is maybe don't buy used. If you can't do much more than, say, take it apart and clean it, if you're not comfortable swapping out a part here or there or doing anything more than regular maintenance, you might not want to consider going used. You might want to just stick with new and just, buy once, cry once or whatnot. But if you're comfortable working on firearms, you've got a good gunsmith that that can help you if you run into issues. That's something to think about right now. I know my dad bought an old Winchester octagonal barrel 22 lever gun. I think it's a lever gun. Maybe it's a pump. I can't remember. And he's dropped hundreds of dollars into this thing trying to get it to run properly. At this point, he probably could have just bought one that was fully functional, ready to go for what he's put into it in gunsmithing prices, trying to get parts replaced on it, trying to get it to cycle and this and that, because he wants to make it into something he can take out and shoot and just have fun with. And he's probably put $400 or $500 in it right now on top of the price of the gun. And functional, nice ones are selling for $700. They're almost 100 years old. I don't know what the model is, but so you can kind of fall down a rabbit hole where you start dropping money into these firearms, and before you know it, you should have just bought new in the first place. So that's something to say. But I mean, again, if you're comfortable working on the firearms, you do your research, the prices, you can get yourself a good deal, especially these days where everything's going for full price, and you might have to look around a little bit to get what you want. So. See, are there any class of firearms we haven't covered yet? Basics, we've covered revolvers, semi-automatics, bolt actions,
black powder,
shadows, black powder. Oh, there we go. Okay, what do you need to know if you're going to go buy a used black powder rifle? What should you look for?
Look for a corroded barrel.
Yeah, no kidding.
Or chambers and a barrel if it's a revolver. There are people out there that don't take care of their stuff.
On the long guns, especially with side lock, you want to look for a weak spring on the hammer.
Okay.
I had that happen once with the numeric.
Yeah, with black powder, I mean, it seems like you can get into it on such a inexpensive level. You can get a decent entry level black powder rifle for a couple $100. Do you want to take a chance on buying somebody else's problems or somebody else's, lack of care? Because there might be a lot of people that might have shot it once and just put it back in the closet, or took it out for a hunt and then just haven't used it again and didn't properly take it apart and clean it, because you got to worry about that whole corrosion issue. I don't know. Are there any other parts on that you want to keep an eye on? Anything that could be possible wear and tear areas that could be an issue? I would just say, like you guys said, corrosion inside the receiver and the barrel would be the big thing.
On the Colt open tops, you want to be sure that the barrel fits the frame tight, and the pin itself that the cylinder is on is not loose. But other than that, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these things might get dropped or scratched up or have holster wear or something like that. There might be some nicks in the grips or the stock or something, but for the most part, there's not a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of the real wear and tear is just the corrosion.
Mm-hmm.
They do
potential for it.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a tendency to break the bolt trigger return spring, bolt spring. They're one piece. But that's $5 or $7 and a couple of screws to fix. It's nothing.
Yeah. Bob Adel says, maybe a stupid question, but are there risks if the used gun was stolen?
Yes.
Yeah.
There possibly are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You possibly could be facing charges for receiving stolen property. But if you cooperate,
if it's presented under honest terms, you bought it under the impression that
that's what I was going to get to.
Go ahead.
If you cooperate with the police and everything in the investigation, everything, generally, you're not going to face any charges. Potentially, you could in real world situation. Most likely, as long as you're cooperative, they're not going to slap any charges on you.
Past history not known, and have law enforcement run the serial number.
You probably lost your money though.
Yeah. You're probably not going to get your money back.
Yeah.
If you're buying a person-to-person sale and you really care, you're really that worried about it, or you just don't know the person, but it seems like a good deal, say, hey, well, let's meet up in my FFL and let's do a legal transfer. Let's be registered and re-register to me and do a background check on myself if you really worry about that much.
How can they prove that it's theirs if it's not registered?
No, I'm just saying if they run the numbers and you have a check done on it and it comes up as being a stolen firearm, if it's in the registry as being reported stolen, I suppose. I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah.
If the gun's stolen, the person who was stolen from can go to the FFL, get their serial number, and they can turn that serial number over to the police when they file a stolen firearm report.
So hypothetically, I could go buy a rifle at the FFL, fill out a 4473. It's in his bound book. I take it home, and then that weekend I go to the gun show and I sell it to somebody. But I ask to see their driver's license and write down their stuff. We do a handwritten receipt.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the only one who gets a receipt. I don't give him one. And then I report the gun stolen to the police and say, this guy, I mean, do you see what I mean? You're opening up a can of worms. I know that's a whole bunch of what ifs, but
yeah.
I don't see them being able to follow. And I'm not asking for registration. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying unless there's a registration, unless there's some sort of evidence, you can claim anything. I think that's something where you're going to eat it in lawyer fees if the cops want to pursue it. But I mean, if this thing's been bought and sold, how are they going to know that you're on the other side of the country with their Enfield rifle or something? Handguns might be a little bit different thing because handguns are used in more crimes than anything else, and et cetera, et cetera. But once again, you're going to have to use this thing in the commission of a crime for them to discover that it was stolen.
Yeah.
I mean, more than likely. I mean, that FFL, if it's on some sort of watch list for law enforcement and that a pawn shop or FFL or what have you is looking it over, you would think that they would check that out before they bought it because now they're really liable, right? They've got the feds, on them.
Yeah,
New York Outcast has some advice for you, Squib. He says, just don't buy guns out of a trunk. It's that simple.
yeah. Well, in the case of a pawn shop or a gun shop, if they're reputable, they're not going to buy anything that's going to be flagged. I mean, so you're not going to have to worry about that from there. But if you're doing a person-to-person sale, it could happen.
And that's why when I do my person-to-person sales, like belonging to a group like MeWe, where you see the guys that have stuff for sale, you can ask about these people. You can get in contact with them. You can message them and ask about the history of the gun. Maybe if you're in one of those little communities, one of those little groups you belong to, there's a better chance you're not going to run into some issue versus somebody who's doing something kind of shady. And somebody who's doing something shady, they really want to have an internet record presence of what they're trying to do, having pictures of it posted, their name, their account information, their IP address. I mean, they'd be really stupid. There's a lot of dumb people in this world. Don't get me wrong. But you'd be really stupid to try to advertise your gun in one of my gun groups if it was stolen and you want to make a quick sale. But there might be somebody who makes up a fake account, just puts it up for the weekend. They want to make a couple $100. They got it from a friend. That's always a possibility. And so that's why, like I said, you could go through the process. I'm never recommend it, but if you wanted to go through the process and do an actual dealer transfer, you can if you worry about it that much.
I've only sold firearms one time before in the past, and before the transaction was complete, I not only had a handwritten receipt signed by myself and the individual buying it, I had that individual's driver's license number on the receipt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to get what they used to call a bill of sale.
That passed a legal.
Oh yeah.
event.
Oh yeah. At least get the person's driver's license number. If they have a carry permit number, get the carry permit number if they're going to show. I always required a Nebraska driver's license and a carry permit or a handgun purchase certificate for any sales at all, even long gun, which you don't have to worry about. I just want to know that way. If they show up at my door, I can say I sold it to an individual. They presented what appeared to be valid, legitimate, permits and licenses that had not expired. There's no law for Nebraska that says you have to keep a record of your personal firearm sale. You maybe should just to kind of cover your back, but you're not required to.
I just never sell one.
Yeah, that works. Tony, do the Tony philosophy. Just don't sell one. It's not an issue.
It is a good policy. Patriot said if you buy it from another owner and then later you try to sell it or trade it at a FFL, that's where you run into it. And yeah, you're right. You're right, Patriot.
Foos says a pawn shop, when they buy a gun, cannot sell it right away. They have to run the serial number with the popo to see if it's hot. Okay, I don't know much about the pawn shop side, but I can imagine that they want to make sure that their property is legit before they turn around and try to resell it too. So, Bernie Sanchez, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
Yep.
That happened to run its way it is here in Illinois for pawn shops and gun shops.
Yeah. Rolling Trip says you're not going to get my driver's license number. Be happy to show it to you. Yeah, I mean, as long as I got a name of the person I sold it to, I don't think that's unreasonable. So I at least have a name to go off of that matches your ID and your carry permit. Then I would be more comfortable selling to you. So
yeah, I kind of have Tony's policy: just don't sell them. But if I did, well, I don't know. And you know what? All right, so if I just want to get rid of stuff and I don't have to keep a record, I might just say forget it and just. Yeah, you look old enough. I mean, but I suppose if I was, I don't know. Part of me says I want a handwritten receipt and I want all that, including your driver's license number. And if you're not going to let me write it down, then forget you. On the other hand, if I'm just looking to get rid of stuff, I might just forego all that. Yeah.
Kingpin says, I only sell my guns to the government. There's a great deal every single time. Nothing like a buyback. Right. Here you go. Here's a free gift card to McDonald's.
$25 Walmart gift card.
I got to admit, though, if they were going to offer me like $100 or $200 and it was a no questions asked buyback, and I've got my Ratty Tatty Jimenez Jade 22, God, the temptation is there.
What
about done with $200 and the gift card to McDonald's, you know?
No.
What if they offered you?
For Kingpin, it would have to be Burger King because he loves them Burger King napkins.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah,
Travis,
but McRib's back.
what if they offered you a cup of coffee at the table in return for your Jimenez?
Absolutely not. They'd have to offer me at least 2 cups of coffee and a donut if they want my Jimenez J22. But I mean, the temptation is there because it's not a fun gun to shoot. I don't like it. I just have it around more as a novelty. It'll run and it runs well. But I mean, I'd hate to participate in that. But I got to say, the $200 would really help offset the cost of a new gun, you know? So, all right. Hey, guys, unfortunately, I have to wrap it up. I got to get going. I've got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. So we're going to go ahead and call it. I got a lot of videos coming up on my channel. I'll be releasing one a week for you guys. I want to thank everybody for joining in. Let's let the panel go ahead and give us their outros, and we will go ahead and let you guys start your weekend. Single Shot, anything you want to say before we go?
Well, check out my channel. I dropped two videos there before I left this last time. That's Single Shot with an exclamation point. And take care. God bless. And America moves by truck. See you next time. Thanks for the invite.
Right on, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bernie B says, buybacks are the way to go. Don't forget to grind off those serial numbers. By the way, it's cereal, SERIAL, but I'm not.
Yeah, I started thinking of Kellogg's when I read that.
It's great. Frosted Flakes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bernie B, man. I had to laugh with you on that one.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Snap, crackle, pop. And speaking about snap, crackles, and pops, Squib, anything you want to say before we go?
Thanks for the invite. Interesting topic. You know, with the exception of milsurps, used isn't really my forte, but glad you covered it. Everybody have a good weekend.
And get into, milsurp used specific models, M1 Garand, Mosins. Maybe we can have that as a discussion because I bought my share of surplus firearms to know what to look for and what to buy and what not to buy. Maybe we'll make that next week's topic because we can focus more on the regular commercial side, what you're going to run into in the gun store kind of thing,
You could title the show, "And the Cost of Mosins Continues to Rise."
It does. Did you see my thumbnail? That's legit. $400 is what they were asking at Cabela's for that. For regular non-hex 9130 that was pretty beat up. So
even with all those Ethiopian guns that flooded the country,
doesn't matter because every time Classic Firearms gets another crate in, they jack the price up on them to like $300, and
you did. That was a good Den impression,
inflating the market price. But if you go look them up, Mosins are. I got lucky and got one for $200 last year, non-numbers matching, and it was fine. But if you wanted anything that was numbers matching, that was in good condition, $350, $400. So that's just the way it goes, man. It's the way the cookie crumbles. So, Squib, thanks for being here with us, guys. Make sure you check out Squibload's channel. He's got a lot of great content on there. Very entertaining, fun stuff to listen to. So make sure you do check him out. Tony, anything you want to say before we go?
First off, evidently you should have bought a Jennings.
Oh, it's the same thing. The Jennings and the Jimenez J22 is basically the same gun. The Jimenez 9mm and the old Jennings 9mm, I think, were basically identical except for the grips. But,
or you could have got a Raven.
Yeah, or Cobra. I mean, they're all basically the same kind of casts and molds and stuff like that. But or a Lorson,
Yeah.
No, I should have just bought a High Point in the first place and just enjoyed. So.
Just keep in mind and the early watch being on 8 a.m. Monday and Friday.
Now, is that on Night Strike's channel or whose channel? Is it the Early Watch channel? What channel is hosting it?
It's on the Early Watch Nation channel.
Okay, so look for the Early Watch Nation channel, search for it, subscribe to it. You want some good chat? I mean, like I said, that's the stuff that helped me keep my sanity when I was repainting my house. It was so nice to have that. I mean, you guys have listened for hours, just painting everywhere. Yeah,
it is iffy on being safe for work content.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, obviously, that's not something you want to play if you've got young ears around. Just because, but you guys do a pretty good job to try to keep it real and just keep it, enjoyable for anybody to listen to. But at the same time, you probably don't want to play it on the radio at work or play it on the speakers in the store, Well, yeah,
No.
if your store, who cares, dude? Anyway, they don't like it, they can go shop elsewhere.
There you go.
Night Strike says, and the prices of Mosins continues to skyrocket. Yes, they do. I made a video 2 or 3 years ago, and I said, is the Mosin investment a good investment? Is the Mosin Nagant a good investment piece? Because I was saying, hey, $199, $2 1/4. Look at the prices going up on them. And people are like, oh, I never bought one of those trash rods. Now they should have just bought crates of them, and they could have bought themselves a new vehicle. So
I was going to say that you should have bought them when you could buy a crate of them for $100.
What's that?
Should have bought them when you could buy a crate of them for $100.
About 100, 150 a piece if you bought a crate of 12 or something. I'm just saying this is a resale. Just what you could get out of them now. You could triple your money back on them. But
when I bought my Garand and my first Mauser, I could have also picked up a Mosin sniper with a PU scope covered in cosmoline. The guy had a crate of them. And I'm like, nah, I don't want that commie gun. What was I thinking?
They're what, $900, $1,500 for an authentic Mosin sniper?
I mean, I can't. Back in those days, they were cheap and they were plentiful. Put a kick me sign on my back.
You want to talk about a kick me sign? Back when I first started buying guns as an adult, my local had a barrel full of Garands, $100 a piece.
Oh,
Ouch.
that's a crying
No
shame.
kidding.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, I mean, I'm just, yeah. And that's one thing too, people out there, you're buying a used gun or a new gun, it's a hell of an investment. You're going to get your return back on it when you turn around and sell it. For the most part, you're not going to, if you lose anything, it's pretty much on you because you were too anxious to sell. I mean, you seriously can get you. It's great. It's a great investment to put your money into. That's why it's never been a question in our family when I want to buy one. I'm like, hey, if you ever need to sell this, if something happens, this is worth this much. This is worth this much. It's never been a question. So ammo too. Ammo, man, that's the new gold standard 9mm.
And back when I turned 18, I asked my mother to write me a check because the guy down the road from us was selling a crate of the Chinese Ghost SKSs. Those are the ones that were the Sino-Chinese that were basically made by the Soviets, but they made them in China to show the Chinese how to make them and everything. $50 for one.
Ah,
My mother said, no, I'm not doing that because you don't need that gun.
Don't even
You
get
know
me
how
going on
much
SKSs. We didn't even really talk about SKSs today.
You know how much those things sell for today?
A Russian SKS is about $1,000, I think.
Yeah, the
750 to 900 for an authentic
yeah,
Izmatch or a Tula.
Yeah, the Sino-Chinese ones, you're looking at the ghost gun ones, the ones that don't have any markings except the serial number.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're paying that much for those two. They're up around $1,000 now. I could have had one for $50, and my mother was like, "No, you don't need that."
I got the
And she wouldn't write the check,
order.
and he wouldn't take a
and
he wouldn't take a money order. It had to be a personal check. It's like, son of a.
Oh man, yeah, it's just prices are crazy. Sorry everybody, but if you're just getting into guns now, you just picked a horrible time to to try.
Well, that's the truth.
We kept professing, we kept preaching, a year ago. Hey, get yourself an AR for $350. You can get this for $199. You can get that Taurus G2C for $149 after rebate, right? But now it's Anyway, we can't reflect. By the way, it's 2021. We got to let the past go. We got to march into the new year and try to make it as good as we possibly can. All right.
yeah,
That's all I
buddy.
can say. Let's see. Anybody else here got to say goodbye? Tony, you said your goodbye. Rich, do you want to get your plug in there before we go?
Oh yeah, just be sure to check out This Week Unloaded tomorrow night. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. The Classic Wrestling Show on Outlaw Hatfield's channel tonight at 9. And be sure to go out there and check out Kingpin's channel. He won't promote himself, so everybody else has got to do it. So go check out Kingpin's stuff.
Yeah, you guys got to go subscribe to Kingpin. He's definitely the one that takes care of us, man. He's out there promoting our channels and letting everybody know where to find everybody. He's just got those links on standby. He's amazing. So
And he's got some really good videos with some really good commentary.
Kingpin's going to get Moderator of the Year 2020. I'm just going to drop it right now. The official first annual Travis P11 Awards. Old Fart of the Year goes to Squib and Tony, you guys have to share the category. Old Farts of the Year because you guys have been with us since episode 1, I think. So Kingpin's going to get Moderator of the Year.
I believe I'm well older than Squib.
The newest guy to join in on the panel.
I believe I'm well older than Squib.
No, right now I got the beard, so we're the same age. Once I shave, I'll be younger.
The Wisdom Award goes to Rich because I can ask that guy a question about anything and he's got an answer for me. So he saves me having to Google. He gets the official Googler award. So yeah, of course, Rich just knows the answer. So let's see. New York Outcast says, good to know that Rich is alive. Oh yeah. He's with us almost every week, man. Oh yeah, he's good.
Well,
Rich is hanging in there, man.
Yeah, the past couple of night shows I haven't been able to be on. Like last night, I couldn't go on Gary's show because we didn't have internet because we were getting an ice storm.
Ice storm.
It knocked out our cable and everything, so we didn't.
Yep.
It knocked out cable, knocked out cell service, and almost knocked out power altogether. So
where are you at, man? Because I got hammered yesterday.
West Virginia, Eastern West Virginia.
Let's see. New York Outcast Award. He wants to be called Late Guy of the Year Award for joining in the podcast late. We can do that for you. Most likely you need a hall pass, New York Outcast.
Yeah, and then Thursday night I couldn't jump in on Jason Stewart's show because we had people over and we were playing video games all night. So that's why Rob. Yeah, that's why Rob's out there saying about me being alive and everything because I haven't been able to do the nighttime shows, and I didn't do a show Sunday night because I was feeling a little under the weather. So. And I had just done the Christmas show last Thursday, so I was like, you know what? I just did a show. I'm not feeling good. Screw it. I'm not doing a show tonight.
It's all right. It's all right. There was a lot of good New Year's Eve. I about said New York Outcast broadcasts. There were a lot of good New Year's Eve shows that were on that you guys held, and a lot of Christmas Eve shows and stuff like that. So it was good to have you guys out there putting some entertainment out there for people. So joining us on the YouTube side today, we had New York Outcast out there. We had Kevin Jung. Kingpin, Kevin's looking for a link to your channel if you could shoot him one real quick. Battle Beans out there today too. Night Strike 1's in the house. G23, 2 Live Moo. Squibload's out there and over here. Bob Adel joined in today for the discussion. Burnaby Sanchez, G23. Rich White over there and over here. The Rolling Trips always joining us. Good to see you out there, buddy. Again, New York Outcast. Foos USPSA's out there. Squiblift also joined in. That's the doppelganger for Squidload, I think. William Trader's in the house. Let's see. I think that's about everybody. Guns and Barbecue joined in. Patriot in the Dark.
Night Strike was here.
Yeah, Night Strike was out there. I think I gave him some. Hopefully, I gave him a shout out. Night Strike 1's out there. He says he's not feeling too good today, so that's why he didn't join us. William Trader, Scott 79 in the house. Ozzy Orsborn, Keith Gregory, Sandhill Shooter, Iris Wristwatcher. Let's see. AWAG was with us this morning, but he had to bail. So, AWAG, thanks for joining in today, buddy. I appreciate it. Fluffy 10mm Jeep Guy, Net Flutter, and Defense Dad, the Poor Conservative, Ohio Wolverine. That's a new one, Ohio. I don't know if I've seen you before. Ohio, are you new to this show? I'm not sure. So, Watt75 says, hey. Carbine Phantom's out there too. Kingpin SS Pawn, and that's about it. So, this is Travis P11. Thanks for watching the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out everybody on the panel. They got great content too, so go over there and subscribe to them. And hopefully we'll be back next Saturday. Maybe we'll have a little used surplus gun discussion just to see what you should look for, because sometimes you can get some good deals on some used surplus firearms. Maybe not, but we'll see if that's definitely going to be the way to go. So, guys, thanks for watching today. I want you guys to have fun, be safe, and we'll talk to you soon, like next Saturday. Have a great New Year, have a great holiday. Relax, take it easy, and thanks for watching.
Good day, everybody.
Bye, Alicia.
Adios, Alicia. Adios. Feliz Navidad, Alicia. Feliz Navidad. There we go.